Hello, Bob. How are you, mate?
Yeah, really good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Busy week, but a good week. So yeah, all good. So what we're going to talk about today in this week's podcast?
Well, today we're gonna actually we're re-recording last week's podcast because of course we did want to talk about McDonald's last week, and then what happened was we edited it, and then on Tuesday, McDonald's cards dropped, which is fabulous, right? So um, it hasn't got in the bin. We'll talk about what we were going to talk about last week, but I thought we'd start here because I think this is the big news of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a bit annoying, isn't it, McDonald's? You've made us we've had to repeat our work. It's very inconvenient of you, but glad you've done it because these cards look great, and there's an awful lot to talk about with McDonald's. So tell us, Bob, have you got any experience with McDonald's?
I have, yeah. So the reason I find this interesting is because I think this is the one that's going to replace Monopoly, or at least give Monopoly a rest, right? So back in 2006, I was part of the team that relaunched McDonald's after a 10-year absence.
Wait. You worked at McDonald's. You should have mentioned it, Bob.
Well, no, I didn't work at McDonald's. I worked at TMS on the McDonald's account, and and yeah, we relaunched the McDonald's Monopoly for them, and I did it for 10 years, right? So I did 10 different campaigns, basically looking after negotiating the prize funds and running the prize teams and stuff. So Monopoly is a big, successful promotion, and I obviously know it inside out. But it has run for kind of 20 years now, and the reason why this is broken now is because Monopoly used to traditionally be in the key Easter trading period. It used to run for 6 weeks over Easter, and then it got slightly out of alignment with COVID, and it moved later. But I personally think that this cards promotion is one where they're kind of testing out something new, either to give Monopoly a little break, or perhaps to replace Monopoly entirely. Perhaps they want their own kind of promotion with their own IP.
No, replace Monopoly. I don't know. I think I like what you said at the start. It gives Monopoly a rest. I just think people absolutely love Monopoly. I mean, and I remember playing it when I was at school. So that is a few years ago.
But I'll tell you what these have both got, right? They're both intuitive. Like everyone knows how to play Monopoly, and everyone knows, how to play trading cards, right? Whether the playability and the mechanic is there, and the key difference between this and Monopoly, from what I can see, is this has got a mechanic where whenever you come in, you will win something, right? So it's guaranteed prize, a food prize. Whereas Monopoly had greater, big prize funds. Like, I used to go and negotiate free house prizes. You could win a house, right? Or a Porsche. I remember I negotiated a Porsche one year. And here, if you look at it, what they've done really well, because they know it works, is they've gone to reward everyone, kind of giving everyone an assured reward. When I look at the kind of major prizes, they're not as big as Monopoly, right? They're not as big in terms of value, but you can't, I would imagine you've got so much budget, and you have to decide whether you're going to reward everyone with something little, right, or whether you're going to reward some people with even bigger prizes. So I think that's just a decision of how you want to allocate the budget.
Yeah, Monopoly is about one big prize. Feels like maybe it's.
Well, Monopoly is about a lot of big prizes, right? So a typical Monopoly will have, the years that I used to run it, it would have, you could win a house, right, which is an amazing prize to win. You could win 100 grand in cash, or perhaps it might be 200 grand in cash. You could win a car. For many years, we gave away minis, right? And so, and then we used to work with companies like Nintendo and Sony on the game station side. So, it was a big smorgasbord of excitement. And I think it's the same, but it's in a different way, right? So they've obviously looked at it and gone, yeah, we want to make sure that there's a lot more gratification every single time you come in. And to be honest, you feel as great winning, an apple pie as you do, winning any other prize. To be quite honest, because winning is winning.
Yeah, of course, but I don't know. I think you're right. Winning is winning. I think Monopoly is a different feel to it. I think Monopoly's got sort of larger prize, larger feel, but it's also got the kind of, you always feel like you're very likely to get something, like even if it's just a chips or a burger.
Well, I think there's two things, and this is what we talked about last week, which we're going to talk about again this week, right? It's kind of, you have to look at McDonald's with two hats. The first hat is a promotional hat. They are masters in promotions. So every promotion they run, right, is immaculately researched. It's highly creative. They use, Leo Burnett and the marketing store and a number of other agencies, right? So they're all first class agencies that create really good looking, well thought out work. So promotionally, right, you'd have to go a long way to beat them. They know how to run a promotion. Then the other part is that we were going to talk about, which we'll talk about now, right, is the fact that they have become very quickly masters of loyalty. And I think the reason they become masters of loyalty is because actually, they're all about operations. So when they decided to create an infrastructure on which to run their promotions on, they didn't have to worry about having great promotions because they've already got great promotions.
Yeah.
They've created an infrastructure where they can have a much better one-to-one relationship with customers through the app, right? But they can also run, which they do really cleverly, they can also run a whole bunch of promotions at the same time. So if you go back 2 or 3 years when they launched this, right, they started putting all the promotions on there. So Monopoly became more digital, right? Then what they did was they started creating similar promotions to Monopoly, but they weren't as complex. So they brought out a promotion called Winning Sips, which they ran for a couple of years, which is basically like if you bought a drink, you could win prizes. So it's the same sort of mechanic. People were used to having that kind of theatre. And theatre's a good word. They're really good at theatre. So when they've got a promotion on, whether it be digital, online, whether you go in the store, right, you can't miss it. It feels like an event. It is proper top tier. So I've seen them do Winning Sips for a couple of years. They also brought out a similar one last January, I think it was, which is all around the fries, which is called Fry Annuary. In terms of board games, depending on the countries that because they run Monopoly all over the world, they've done Monopoly. In some countries like France, they prefer to do Uno, right? So if you look at what they're doing here in terms of the cards, I mean, this will work in any country. If this works in the UK, chances are it will be repeated. And they've created a format, so it's a collector shell, and they've got their theme for this year, but they can easily put a different theme, different cards next year. They can easily, if this goes really well, just add more budget to it and start giving away free cards or 100 grand in cash or whatever it might be.
How do you think they're sort of building emotional connection though, rather than just incentivizing every purchase?
That's a good question. If you look at the way in which their promotions are very interactive, that's how they build an emotional connection. It's like if you've ever been, I mean, sad geek that I am, if you've ever been in a McDonald's restaurant on day one launch day of a Monopoly, and you watch the kids all come in at lunchtime, and people are sitting there peeling things off and going, I've won an apple pie or I've won a McFlurry, right?
Yeah.
The whole vibe in the restaurant just lifts.
Yeah.
And it's very visible, right? Because it's like if you sit there and if you win a McFlurry and you get up and you go to the counter and you hand your token over and everything else, everyone sees you winning.
Yeah.
So that's how they communicate.
There's nothing better than free food.
Nothing better than free food. But the other thing is they're really well joined up from a communications point of view because they've got fantastic agencies and all of their ads are really great, right? So whenever they launch a campaign, their campaigns ads are really fantastic. It's almost like, I remember the first Monopoly ones, it was almost like, the circus is coming to town again kind of thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the emotional connection then is around the prize winning, which is great. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that one. It's a good idea. How do you think they're using the personalized data though? I mean, that's a lovely sort of value exchange, isn't it? But are they missing out on an opportunity to gather data and personalize? Because I guess there's no way of knowing who won a McFlurry and who won an apple pie and who won a burger.
But they're getting more and more clever with regard to their app.
Right.
So I would imagine, and I don't know, so I'm going to say I imagine that this year they'll have even more personalised data about who won and who didn't win and all the other bits and pieces. The other thing is, if you think about it, making sure that everyone that walks in every single time wins a piece of food, right? That's a great way to get people, because this is more app dependent. I mean, you can do it without the app, but this is more app dependent. So it's a great way of getting more and more people onto your app. In terms of what you order, when you order, and everything else, they must have that.
Yeah.
But if you look at their whole calendar is mapped out on that app. So I've had a mail from them when they're running their activity, like a new burger or a promotion. And at the same time, I've also, within a few hours, I've also received a value offer, some sort of discounted meal. And they've got plenty of day parts to play with, right? They've got breakfast to play with, they've got lunchtime to play with, and the other bits and pieces. And I know globally everyone goes, wow, they've got so many people, right? Well, that's the other thing that I think they deserve a round of applause for. I mean, how many people can you think of that launched a loyalty program a few years back and have got it integrated seamlessly in so many countries?
Well, yeah, that is true. They've done an incredible job of that. Absolutely incredible job.
And that comes back to when I talked about them being operationally fantastic, right?
Yeah,
so like when you work for a McDonald's agency, if you work on the account, you have to spend a couple of days in the restaurant, working in the restaurant, which I did many years ago, right?
How were you on the what were you on? Were you on fryer or server or doing?
Well, I started off on the till.
Okay.
And I worked my way up to, by day 3, I was cooking the burgers.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes. But it was very strict, right? And in terms of you had to do everything by the book, So it was like when we got a break and we wanted to cook our own version of the, McBlob flurry or whatever, right? They were, it wasn't allowed basically. But what was really good is on the last day, they did let me, when they used to have the burgers in the holder that kept them warm and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then they used to shout, "Oh, we need, cheeseburgers or whatever." Right? I used to make them shout, "Yes, chef!" But it was all good. Yeah. But the point I was making is, I never fully appreciated how operationally excellent they were until I spent 3 days in the store and I saw, oh, okay, I get it now, right? And that runs through them. It's all that part of their DNA. So what I loved about what they've done with the loyalty and the app and everything else is they've just put it at the heart of everything. And they realise that they don't have to, create, even more amazing promotions. I know they're always trying to, but they just need to put. They have the rails now to put everything they want on there. So if they wanted to do local store offers, I'm sure they could do, right? Because
well, it's a strong program. I mean, it scores very high on our maturity index. It's in the mid 80s, which is a really good score. So. No complaints from me on loyalty. I think it's a very sophisticated program. I love the new the cards that we've got behind us.
Yeah,
good idea. And I've seen them on eBay. People have started to trade.
Yeah, so have I.
But it's a great program. I love the new collecting cards.
Have you been there yet?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay.
I mean, it only came out Tuesday, Wednesday. Give me a chance.
There you go.
But I'll be in there this weekend checking it out. And I'm a big fan of Monopoly. I've been doing the Monopoly since I was a tiny wee boy.
Right. Well, that's probably one of the ones I worked on.
yeah, probably. I think I was a middle-aged boy by then. But